I do not know whether it is wise to put these memories to paper. For decades I have tried to banish them from my mind, tried to tell myself that I had imagined it all, that what I saw was nothing more than a trick of darkness, a fevered dream brought on by late hours and an overactive imagination. And yet, as I grow older, the night comes back to me with a clarity that no drink, no prayer, and no reason has ever been able to dispel. I was there. I saw him. And if you believe that the stories of Spring-Heeled Jack are nothing more than penny dreadful inventions, childish tales to frighten errant sons and daughters, then I beg you, listen to me. For I was one of the first, and perhaps the luckiest, to encounter him and live to tell it. It was the autumn of 1837, when the streets of London lay shrouded in a constant mist of coal smoke and fog. Gas lamps flickered like will-o'-the-wisps, giving more shadow than light. The city was restless, poverty gnawed at the poor, crime flourished in the rookeries, and whispers spread faster than news. I was 19 then, a simple girl, living with my father, a publican, in a modest house near Lavender Hill. My evenings were long, filled with errands and duties, and though my father warned me against walking alone after dusk, I had grown accustomed to the routine. Yet that October night, as I returned home by way of Clapham Common, I felt unease prickling at my skin. The fog was thick, pressing close, and there was a muffled sound in the air. I had walked perhaps half a mile when I became aware of footsteps behind me. At first, I thought it some late traveller bound in the same direction, but the sound was strange, too light, too bounding. It reminded me of a hare leaping across a field. Then the footsteps ceased. I quickened my pace, heart hammering. That was when I heard it, a laugh. High, mocking, metallic, as though some devil had learnt to mimic human mirth. I spun round, and there he was. A figure leaping down from a garden wall, as if gravity held no sway over him. He landed without a sound, crouched like some great predatory cat, his cloak billowing about him. His eyes glowed, yes, glowed, a phosphorescent blue in the gloom, and his mouth twisted into a grin so wide that I thought it would split his face. And then, God help me, he opened that mouth and spewed forth a cloud of flame, blue and white, so hot that I felt the heat sear the air between us. I screamed and stumbled back, certain I was about to be consumed. But instead of striking, he advanced with slow, deliberate steps, as though savoring my terror. His hands, oh, I shall never forget them, ended in claws. Long, metallic, curved, catching the faint lamplight with a gleam like polished steel. He stretched one hand toward me, and in that moment, I felt the icy touch of death upon me. I fainted. When I awoke, my father was bending over me, shaking me, calling my name. I was lying at our own doorstep. Later, neighbors told us they had heard my screams and found me collapsed, my clothes torn where the claws had raked, but not pierced. I had no memory of how I reached home. Some swore they saw a dark figure bounding across rooftops, leaping as though aided by springs of infernal design. From that night, London was never the same. News spread like wildfire. Within weeks, tales of the Spring-Heeled Jack appeared in the newspapers. Some dismissed him as a trickster, a cruel jester in costume. Others claimed he was a ghost, or worse, a demon escaped from hell. But the reports kept coming. A coachman swore a leaping figure had bounded into the road, causing his horses to panic. A servant girl in Battersea was assaulted by a clawed hand, reaching from the shadows. And in Ealing, a man was said to have fought the creature, who laughed, as blades glanced from his skin, as though it were armor. The panic grew so great that even the Lord Mayor of London was forced to address it, admitting before a crowd that numerous, credible witnesses had testified to encounters with the fiend. For my part, I withdrew. I rarely left the house at night, and when I did, I carried a small knife in my pocket. But knives, I knew, would do little against what I had seen. It was in February of the following year, 1838, that Spring-Heeled Jack made his most infamous appearance. I was not present, but I spoke to Jane Alsop herself, a girl of my own age, who bore the scars upon her flesh, and the fright in her eyes, till the day she died. Jane lived with her father on Bearbinder Lane. One night, there came a violent knocking at the door. When she opened it, a man stood there in a dark cloak. He claimed to be a police officer, calling for a light, for they had caught Spring-Heeled Jack at last, in the lane outside. Eager to assist, Jane fetched a candle. But when she stepped outside, the man threw back his cloak. It was him. He spat fire into her face, burning her, and clawed at her gown, until she shrieked and tore herself free. Only the arrival of her sisters saved her, dragging her back inside, as the creature bounded into the night with unholy agility. When Jane told me this herself, I saw how her hands trembled, how her voice faltered. The newspapers did not exaggerate. Her injuries were real. Her terror was real. Spring-Heeled Jack did not vanish after Jane's ordeal. For years he plagued the suburbs of London, Lewisham, Blackheath, Stepney, always the same pattern: women attacked, men terrified, flames and claws, and that dreadful, mocking laugh. Some claimed he was seen in the company of men of wealth, suggesting that beneath the monstrous guise was some aristocrat indulging a perverse amusement. Rumours abounded that the Marquis of Waterford, a man notorious for cruelty and scandal, was the villain. Certainly, he had the means, the temperament, and the devilry. But the sightings continued long after his death. As the decades passed, the reports grew stranger still. In Liverpool, he was seen leaping onto the roof of St. Francis Xavier's Church. In the Midlands, entire villages claimed to have been terrorized by a leaping phantom. As late as 1904, a mob of men in Everton gave chase to a figure that vaulted over rooftops, before vanishing into the night. Each time, the details were the same: the glowing eyes, the flaming breath, the springing leaps beyond mortal capacity. For many years, I lived in the shadow of that night, but I never saw him again, until the winter of 1845. By then, I was married, with 2 children, and had thought myself free of such horrors. But fate is cruel. We lived near the docks then, in a modest lodging house. One foggy evening, a commotion arose outside. Voices shouting, a crowd gathering. Against my better judgment, I went to the window. There, by the flickering light of a gas lamp, I saw him once more. Spring-Heeled Jack, cornered by dockworkers, his cloak flaring, his eyes blazing like lanterns in the dark. They struck at him with poles, with stones, but he laughed, a sound that chilled me as much as it had on Lavender Hill. Then, with a bound, he leapt clear over their heads, higher than any man should leap, and vanished across the rooftops toward the river. I fell back from the window, clutching my children, trembling as though I were that 19-year-old girl again. Now, as I write these words in the twilight of my life, I wonder, who was Spring-Heeled Jack? Was he truly human? Some contrivance of science, a madman with hidden springs upon his boots, and chemicals in his lungs to create fire? Or was he, as so many whispered, something far older, something not of this earth? I cannot say. I only know what I saw. A figure with eyes like burning coals, claws like iron, and leaps that mocked the laws of nature. Some may scoff. Some may call me fanciful, a teller of ghost stories. But I swear, by all I hold sacred, that every word I have set down here is true. And should you ever find yourself walking alone, on a foggy night in London, and hear light, bounding footsteps behind you, pray that it is only your imagination. For there are things that lurk in the shadows of this city, things that the gaslight cannot banish. And one of them has a name. Spring-heeled Jack.